Thank you for giving your time to learn about Chinese Agape. Chinese Agape's mission is to aid the poor, suffering children of China. This is done by providing for the needs of Chinese orphans and supplying medical treatments and surgeries for poor Chinese children. It's because of the generosity of caring men and women throughout the world that Chinese Agape is able to carry out its mission. Let's begin with a look at Chinese Agape's efforts to assist Chinese orphans. As reported in an article in China Daily, the Chinese Ministry of Civil Affairs stated that in 2009, the number of orphans on the Chinese mainland reached 712,000. This number can vary widely depending on the source. Some have estimated as many as 1 million or more orphans in China, and the number continues to grow. According to BBC.com, in a 2-month span, more than 260 children had been left at a welfare home in Guangzhou. These children were left in what they called a baby hatch. The parents simply put them inside and then left. While there are numbers of state-run orphanages in China, there are simply not enough, and those that do exist are located primarily in metropolitan areas. It's estimated that 85% of Chinese orphans are in rural areas, areas that are not being well served by state-run orphanages. These innocent abandoned children sometimes find their way into the homes of elderly relatives who cannot afford to take care of them, or in some cases, they end up in the streets begging or stealing just to survive. Some of them end up being victims of child trafficking, in which they are sold and sometimes used for forced labor or prostitution. It's estimated that as many as 70,000 Chinese children are stolen each year. The workers of Chinese Agape are committed to relieving the suffering of and eliminating the danger to as many of China's orphans as possible. Since its beginning, Chinese Agape has cared for thousands of orphans. Currently, there are over 500 orphans in the Chinese Agape care centers. Here are the stories of just a few of them.
My mother left when I was just a baby. My father went to prison, and I've never seen him again.
I saw my father beaten to death when I was 4 years old. My mother died when I was 12. I was abused as a child.
My mother murdered my father. My grandparents are too old to care for me.
I was abandoned as a baby. I was raised by foster parents, but they have died.
My mother drowned when I was 2 years old. My father disappeared a few years later.
My father died of a brain tumor. My mother can't take care of me anymore.
In an effort to improve and even save the lives of these precious children, Chinese Agape currently operates 5 care centers. In a moment, you will see the centers and some of the children in them, but first let's look at the homes from which some of these children came. Those who were fortunate to have homes lived in conditions in which most of us would not even consider living for one day, much less a lifetime. Notice the pigs in the house. The green plants form the meager garden used to feed the family in this house. This is the kitchen of one of the houses. The exterior shows a structure that provides shelter and protection from wind and rain, but little else. Here is a combination kitchen and living room. Notice the chickens roaming free in the house. This is the exterior of the house in which a young man named Liang Ji Chao once lived. He is now in the care of the John Connor Brown Care Center. This was the bedroom that he shared with his brother and elderly uncle. This is the living room. This is the pantry. These are the contents of the pantry on a typical day: 3 empty bottles of cooking oil and 1 half-full bottle. Now let's turn from the past of these Chinese orphans and come to their present by visiting each of the 5 care centers. These photos will need very little comment. We'll let the children's faces and their new surroundings at the care centers tell the story. This is the Refuge of Grace Care Center in the city of Luxi. This is the Jackson Family Care Center in Zigong. This is the Neil Taylor Care Center in Rongshui. This is the John Connor Brown Care Center in Tiandong. This is Wesley's House Care Center in Pinghua. To say that these lives have changed is a tremendous understatement. They now have plenty of healthy food to eat. Many of China's poor children are undernourished and sickly because they are not getting the proper nutrients. This is not the case in the Chinese Agape Care Centers. Their food is prepared in nice, clean kitchens. They have nice rooms in which to sleep. They have comfortable clothing to wear. They have safe places in which to play and study. Here is just one of the many success stories resulting from the efforts of Chinese Agape and its supporters. Su Yuzun came into the care of Chinese Agape at the age of 11. Her father had disappeared. Little is known about her mother. Roll the clock forward several years and you now see Su Yuzun at her college graduation. Because of the financial support of caring individuals, Chinese Agape was able to change this life from one of heartache and despair to one of hope and happiness. In a letter that she wrote upon her graduation, Su Yuzun said, "I have graduated from my university and was awarded a diploma. For poor children in China, what can change their fate is to learn more in school. Graduating from the university means I will start a brand new life. Right now, I am in an internship in a property company, and I believe it will be getting better and better for my life. My hope is that I can provide a happier life to my folks with my painstaking efforts." Helping these children succeed in school is just one of the many benefits of the work of Chinese Agape. Now let's turn to Chinese Agape's work with poor Chinese children in need of medical care. The Chinese Ministry of Health reports that about 5.6% of newborns in China have birth defects, with about 900,000 affected infants born each year. Of the babies born with defects, about 30% die within 5 years after birth, while another 40% suffer lifelong deformities. More than 300,000 children are born each year with congenital heart disease on the Chinese mainland. However, only 70,000 of them have access to medical treatments. Sadly, parents are giving up and abandoning their sick and disabled children because they simply cannot afford to pay for their medical care. Chinese Agape assists financially in treatments and surgeries in China whenever possible. However, in cases that require more detailed attention from specialists, Chinese Agape brings these children to the United States to be treated at one of its many partner hospitals. The needs of these poor children range from burn treatments to open heart surgery. Without the needed treatments, many of these children would suffer throughout life, or even worse, die at a very young age. As with the orphans, many examples could be given of the impact that Chinese Agape has had in the lives of the poor and suffering children of China. Here are just two. This is Meng Yunchang. He and his mother were flown to New Orleans so that he could have open-heart surgery at Children's Hospital. Here he is today, a very happy and now healthy youngster. This is Liu Jingya. In January 2012, she was outside playing. It was a cold day and the workers had built a fire pit to warm themselves. Jingya fell in and suffered third-degree burns on her face and left hand. Her mouth, eyelids, nose, and left ear were also injured. She has been receiving treatment at Shriners Hospital in Cincinnati and has made significant progress. With so many orphans and so many medical needs of the poor children in China, it's clear that there is still much more work to be done. Chinese Agape's workers continue to scour the countryside to find orphans. In order to accommodate those innocent suffering children, Chinese Agape's goal is to build more care centers. In the realm of medical care, Chinese Agape's goal is to provide open-heart surgeries for at least 50 children per year. These are lofty goals, but the men and women of Chinese Agape are committed to reaching those goals so that lives can be changed and saved. If you would like to help, please go to the Chinese Agape website at www.chineseagape.org and click the Donate Online link. Whatever amount you are able to give will be put to good use. Your donation is tax deductible and will change the lives of these precious children. Thank you for your interest in the works of Chinese Agape. Please contact Chinese Agape through the website if you have any questions. Together, we can make a difference.